Let's start with the prayers. Vasudeva sutam devam kamsa chanuramarthanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagatgurum. Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. We are in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, a very beautiful chapter, giving us the vision of life through knowledge. When we have the right knowledge, it gives us the right desires in life. When we have the right desires in life, we have the right actions. A 3-step process is involved in this teaching: knowledge, desire, action. So when you look at this right knowledge, Bhagavan presents in this chapter how to see ourselves, how to see the world, and how to see the Lord. The right knowledge to give us the right vision of this world. And once we have this right vision, we will be happy and will be peaceful in life. Two methods have been used here. One is the individual analysis, Vyashti analysis, which is the Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. The discrimination between the seer and the seen. This is the Vyashti, the individual analysis. The second analysis is the Samashti. Samashti means the totality. How do I see the entire universe? So the first is, how do I see myself? The second is, how do I see this whole world? What is the vision? What is the spiritual vision? What is the cosmic vision of this universe? That is what is analyzed as Prakriti and Purusha. And when we analyze this Prakriti and Purusha through the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, it tells us to look at the world in two forms: manifest form, unmanifest form. And then it reveals to us that the truth is hidden behind the unmanifest form of the universe. This is the secret of chapter 13. This is what we need to understand in reality when we do the analysis of Prakriti and Purusha. We are in the process of seeing the 23rd verse, which is an analysis of the Purusha, the seer, the Sakshi, the consciousness, God as consciousness, God as the ultimate seer of the universe. Like I said, the Prakriti and Purusha, we should see it in totality, the universe. When we look at the universe, there are two elements to it: the Prakriti, the matter portion, and the seer, the knower of the Prakriti. This knower is called as the ultimate seer. This ultimate seer is present in all the beings. That is what the Lord said in the third verse of this chapter. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. And in this verse, 6 glories of Bhagavan are indicated. Verse number 23, 6 glories are indicated. What are the 6 glories? Number 1, Upadrashta. Number 2, Anumanta. Number 3, Bharta. Number 4, Bhokta. Number 5, Maheshwara. And number 6, Paramatma. Very beautiful section of the 13th chapter is presented in the 23rd verse, which we are studying today. Now let us go straight to this verse and go deeper in understanding this particular verse. Upadrashta means Chaitanyam, the ultimate seer. The ultimate seer is God. God has got two natures. One is to remain as the Prakriti. Prakriti means matter principle. So when you understand God as two aspects, one is the matter principle, the second is the consciousness principle. Like the individual, the Lord. The individual is an image of the Lord. So Prakriti represents the entire universe, which is the matter principle. The causal body, the subtle body, and the gross body at a totality level, which we call it as Prapancha. Sthula Prapancha, Sukshma Prapancha, Karana Prapancha. 3 things. The totality of that is Prakriti. And the seer, you see, the seeing principle, the knowing principle of this universe is a completely different type of entity, which is the higher nature, which is called as the Sakshi or Purusha in this chapter. So Upadrashta means a seer, an ultimate seer. Like in a yajna, you have a Purohit who chants, who puts the oblations into the fire. Then there is a head priest. And this head priest is the one who governs, who directs the other priests. So like that, we have in this world, there is a Sakshi principle, there is a Purusha principle, which directs the entire world, and it also is the ultimate seer, the knowing principle. When you say, I know the world, I see you, you see me, I hear you, you hear me, what we mean by that is we are sentient beings. We have the knowingness in us. the consciousness in us. That consciousness is being defined here or indicated here as the Lord, the Purusha. The second description is the glory is Anumanta. Anumanta means it is a permitter. It permits all the senses to function, the mind, the antakarana to function. So in the presence of this Purusha, in the presence of this Lord, the entire world is in motion. Everything which you see in the outside world is in motion. Everything, including the cells in our body, including the trees and the plants and the earth is in motion, the planets are in motion, everything is in motion, everything is changing. But in this changing phenomena, there is a sakshi, there is a witness, there is a knower. That knowing principle, in the presence of the knowing principle, everything is working. This is one of the glories of the Lord. You cannot see through our eyes, you cannot see that Lord, but it exists. This is what Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna, that what you are seeing in the battlefield is not the ultimate. There is a higher principle which is controlling this entire activity in the anatma field. So that was the second glory which we saw last week. Bharta. The third one is sustainer. It sustains everything. Everything in the creation is sustained, is enlivened. The existence in this creation does not belong to the world. It is borrowed from this Lord. That is what is called as the holder. It gives the Lord, this consciousness principle or existence principle, that is lending the existence to this world. The next is, the fourth one is Bhokta. Bhokta means experiencer. I experience. You see, we are also experiencer, but the Lord is the supreme experiencer. He experiences the entire universe. We understand there is a principle. There is that Lord who is the entire holder of the universe, sustainer of the universe, the knower of the universe. That is why we say Lord is Sarvajnaha. The Lord is Sarvashaktiman. So all the glories are being enumerated in this verse. And the fifth one is Maheshwara, Maheshwara. Maheshwara means what? He is there in all the bodies, which he said in the third verse of this chapter itself. You and I are there only in this body as an ego, as a reflection of that God. In each body, like you can get reflection of the sunlight on every pot outside, if it is filled with water, we are all similar to the sun, to the pots. Our mind is nothing else but the water. It can reflect the consciousness. The subtle body is the mind. The subtle body can reflect like a mirror can reflect. Our mind can hold this Ishvara for a certain length of time till the body is there. So this is the principle of Maheshwara. He is there as the consciousness principle in everybody. He governs. He governs the entire universe in this way by getting reflected in each of the minds of human beings. Paramatma, that is the last indicator. Paramatma means this is where the subject and object, they merge. Object means I see myself in this body. I know my emotions. So the emotions are an object for the subject I. For the whole universe, the universe is seen in my mind through the sense organs. So there is a differentiation, there is a duality between subject I, the body, the mind, and the world. But both these are together, they merge in one awareness principle. That is why it is called as Paramatma. It is one supreme awareness which exists. It's only one. In every body, it's the same consciousness. The seer in all of us is common. Like the air we breathe. The air we breathe is a common element. The water we drink is common. The same water we all drink. The food which we eat is born from the earth. Again, it's common. So there is a link between Vyashti and Samashti, between the individual and the total. There is a link. And this link is what is being established in these 6 indicators or the 6 glories of the Lord. When my mind knows this, has this knowledge, it has a different vision of the world. Uttama Purusha Swanyaha Paramatmetu Dahrataha Yolokatrama Vishaya Vibhartavya Ishwaraha. So what does this 15th chapter, it says, I've just brought this 17th verse. It says that there is a supreme Purusha. That is the same Purusha which we are discussing in this chapter is referred again in the 15th chapter. There, the name given to the Purusha is Uttama Purusha, the Supreme Lord. And what is his role? Number 1, he is indestructible. And number 2, he is pervading the 3 worlds of waking, dream, and sleep. Very, very subtle principle. If we have a very mature mind, we can understand this aspect of the Lord. Have you ever thought why I wake up, why I go to sleep, why I dream? Is there a controller of these 3 states? Have you ever asked this question? If you have asked this question, this is the answer. There is a Lord who controls the waking state, the dream state, the sleep state of all the human beings. There is a controller and who sustains the 3 states for us. That controller is this Purusha. This is the analysis which we do in the Mandukya Upanishad on Wednesdays. In Wednesday class, we understand these 3 states. We go very deep into them and we try to discover the same Purusha in the Mandukya Upanishad class. It's a very beautiful verse. Remember this. You can meditate on this. It will give you a new vision of the Lord. There is a Lord who is in each one of our hearts. When I say our heart, it means not the physical heart, it means the mind and intellect. Behind the mind and intellect, there is a power, there is a Shakti. That Shakti, that power is the one which projects this entire waking state for us. Again, it withdraws to itself in sleep. Again, it projects. There is a supreme power behind each one of us. That supreme power is this Purusha. Very, very beautiful descriptions and indicators for us to just dwell in this thought. When the mind dwells in these type of thoughts, the mind gets a new strength which it never had before. That is the beauty of studying the Bhagavad Gita. When the mind dwells on the nature of the Lord or on the nature of the individual, it goes into a totally different vision. That vision gives it the strength. When you have this type of vision, then it becomes easier for us to face the life's challenges. Life's challenges are many, but this is the strength. This is the secret of the Bhagavad Gita. The one who chants the Gita, the one who understands the Gita, he gets a totally different strength, mental strength. The one who understands, this is a very important sentence, the one who understands clearly the Prakriti and Purusha perfectly does not have any rebirth. This is the promise of the Shastras. This is what is taught to us, is a revelation of the scriptures. And what does it mean? It means the same idea which I have just expressed here. There is a force, there is a power which is controlling the waking, dream, and sleep. That supreme power is Purusha. What I am experiencing as my body, as the world, is Prakriti. This is what I need to know. And if I can hold on to this knowledge, I can abide in this knowledge throughout my life, then there is no rebirth. That is called as Videha Mukti. With this knowledge, I can live Jivan Mukti life. I can live as a free person who is not disturbed by the turbulences in the mind. Every time a mind thinks of something, immediately this knowledge will come in and say, I am Purusha, I am not the mind. I am Purusha, I am not the mind. That is the knowledge which sinks into the subconscious mind. This Purusha is the same as Kshetrajna. What we studied earlier as Kshetram and Kshetrajna at the individual level is the same at the cosmic level. When we study at the cosmic level, it is called as Prakriti and Purusha. All of us have a notion that I am this body. I am acting. I am doing actions. This notion in this body is called as ego or ahamkara. Whenever the sense organs are contacting the sense objects, there is a reaction in the mind. In the mind, a notion, a thought arises. That thought is the ego. It is a natural process which happens to all of us, whether you are a jnani or whether you are a ajnani. Whenever we are in the waking state, whenever the sense organs are contacting and interacting with the sense objects, that means I, the body, interact with the world, there is a thought, and that thought is I. I thought arises in the waking state when the sense organs are active. What happens to this I thought in sleep? It is not there. The ego has gone to sleep. You can realize this. Each one of us can realize this. This is how the scriptures teach us. It's a natural thing. But what the Bhagavad Gita tells us is, don't think that this is the final truth. This ego which is rising and falling, it rises in the waking state, it falls in the sleep state. Again, it rises in the dream state, again, it falls in the sleep state. I take, without the knowledge of this Purusha, this Sakshi, this Kshetrajna, which is taught to me in the 13th chapter, if I am not aware of the 13th chapter and I have not listened to it, I don't know there is a Purusha. There is a consciousness principle. Throughout my life, I take myself to be this ahamkara. Ahamkara means karta bhokta. Karta bhokta means doer and enjoy. So whenever the sense organs are acting in the world, the mind automatically becomes a doer of action through the organs of action, or it is enjoying through the organs of knowledge. The eyes are enjoying the forms, the ears are enjoying the sound. So that is what is called as karta bhokta. In Atma Bodha, we have this beautiful verse which says that anybody who regards the reality of a rope, this is a very famous example in the Vedic literature, rope snake, which all of you have listened so many times. Just to remind, this verse, what it says is, when you see a rope and you don't know that it is a rope, and you see a snake, it is a superimposition. And then what happens? You have fear. And you want to run away from the snake. Similarly, the same thing happens. This is what is said in the Atma Bodha. It says the egocentric individuality, the ego, that is the rope snake. Each one of us have that in us. I am 50 years old, I'm 30 years old, all that is the notions in the mind. And it is referred when we are identifying with the body or the world or the mind. I am sick today means refers to the body. I am very sorrowful today, it refers to the mind. So it is this I notion, the ego, which is identifying with the body or mind. What we are learning in this 13th chapter right now, what we are learning is, let this ego be there while it is transacting in the outer world. But don't take it as the final self. That's all. Lord Krishna is only teaching us that you cannot stop the ego. The ego will still continue as long as we live. But with knowledge of this consciousness, and without the knowledge of this consciousness, it makes a huge difference. If I have the knowledge, I am. Then what happens? I am not a samsari. On the left-hand side, you will find all the descriptions of the person with knowledge. And on the right-hand side, you will find all the description of the person without this knowledge. Or even you can take it as with knowledge, but he knows that it is ego. So if I have the knowledge of, so here, the knowledge of the pure self is important. that pure Sakshi, which is holding the three states. Keep this in mind all the time. Whenever we use the word Sakshi or witness or consciousness, you should remember we are talking about an about something it cannot be described in words. It is Satchidananda. That is what is the description used in the Upanishads. But ultimately, we're talking about a seer, a consciousness entity. Now, that is beyond the three states. Number one, and it is also pervaded, it is also in the three states. You see, this is where you have to understand clearly. Immanent and transcendental. Immanent, this consciousness is there in all the three states, pervades all the three states. Transcendent, it exists without the three states. That is where our moksha comes. I learned to drop the ego I as myself. I learned to drop it because now I'm slowly understanding, oh, this ego is my problem. I've taken this temporary phenomena which happens in this universe as my real truth, as my reality, because everybody has been telling me you are born on so and so date, you're going to, you live for so many years and then you go away and there's nothing left. That's it. This is what is the knowledge I have from the world. But the scriptures gives me a new knowledge about myself. And that knowledge is I am not a samsari. Samsari means identification with body and mind. I am that Satchid Ananda, that pure consciousness, Sakshi. When I know this, what happens? I am fearless. I have no fear about anything because I am pure consciousness. That's all. There is nothing else beyond that. What happens to the body? Well, it remains for some time and then it goes away. That's all. Sometimes in my sleep also, I don't see my body, but I am there. So that is the knowledge. I exist as pure consciousness, Chit. And that consciousness is the Supreme Self. It is the Lord itself. Because consciousness happens to be just one. And it is Advaitam. Advaita means it is non-dual. There are no two consciousness. The only proof for this is the Veda. There is no other proof. That is why Shraddha, the faith in the scriptures, is very important. Whatever words we use, the words which we use in life are all thoughts. Every word you utter is a thought in a mind first. The crystallized form of thought is a word. It comes out, manifests. And a thought is always about the world. Generally, it is a concept. You conceive. Either you say this house is beautiful, this place is beautiful, the body is beautiful. All this is with reference to the world. It refers to the objects, which can be put in the form of words. But consciousness cannot be expressed in terms of words. Taittiriya Upanishad has a very beautiful proof for this. It says, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidwan na bibeti karachaneti. What it says is the speech turns back with the mind without reaching it. Why is it? Because any word which we say, it defines something other than me. In consciousness, there is no otherness. This is the subtle point. If you can grasp it, is fine. In consciousness, there is no otherness. Consciousness alone is. Therefore, there are no desires, no fears in consciousness. These two notions are born when the mind wakes up. And this is what is the ego. I, the ego, the small self, the lower self, is always insecure because it is temporary. See, I have a notion that I am temporary, I am not permanent. That is the ego I. That ego I learn to transform that ego I into the Sakshi I, into the real I, into the permanent I. It is the eternal I. This is what is called as knowledge. This is what is called as transformation of an individual from an ignorant state to a knowledgeable state. Knowledge from where? From the Bhagavad Gita. It's all from the Gita. It is scriptural knowledge given by the Lord. It is the Lord himself who's talking. The nature of the Lord we have seen. It is the consciousness principle, always existing, eternal principle. It is these words, what we are learning is trying to teach us, the jiva, that I am not this ego, I am this higher self. I am always one with the Ishvara. Knowing this, you can always, at any time you are in difficulty, remember this one point: there is an Ishvara in this body. There is a God principle. There is a Sakshi. I can depend on it for my security. I learn through the Bhagavad Gita to have devotion to that Lord in my own heart. That Lord is not outside in a temple anymore. I was looking at the Lord outside all the time, but now I have learned that Lord is inside my own mind and intellect. This is what the Lord will teach us in the 18th chapter. The last chapter, the Lord will teach us that learn to see me in your own mind and intellect. I am there. Very beautiful descriptions will come later. So here, a samsari means what? A person who is identified with the ego. So the sakshi or the awareness, when it is attached or identified with the mind, it is called as the jiva. Understand these two principles very clearly, then you will have complete clarity of Prakriti and Purusha. And you yourself will be able to get rid of all fears which come into your mind. This Sakshi gets a reflection in the mind as soon as the mind wakes up, and that reflected consciousness is called as Chid Abhasa. It's a Sanskrit name for a reflection. Like you see a reflection of your face in the mirror, that reflected face is the Abhasa. And in the mirror stands for the mind. The mind has got several defects. So the reflection is the power in the mind. And then it reveals the nature of the mind. Whether it is good, for a jnani, it will reveal jnani's mind. For ajnani, it will reveal ajnani's mind. All the thoughts in the mind are revealed by the reflected consciousness. But it is a shadow. Remember, it is not the original. When the body falls, the mind goes away, taking up another body, or the mind merges with the Lord. These are the two possibilities for the mind. For a jnani, the mind will merge with the Lord. It will merge with the original consciousness because he knows that even while living itself, he knows I am that pure awareness. Purusha and this principle of reflection is what is called as adhyasa, superimposition. So one who is identified or who superimposes his own nature with the body or mind enjoys sukham or dukkha in the waking state. And this is what is called as delusion. The ego I is a complete delusion. From the spiritual angle, you may be very knowledgeable with reference to the world. You may be earning millions of dollars. You may be, know about the world of medical science, the world of engineering, the world. That is all with reference to the physical world. But coming down to know who you are, this identification is what causes delusion, and it is called as the lower self. These are all very important points in the Bhagavad Gita. These are all aspects of the Upanishads which are taken in to explain the Bhagavad Gita. Because if you read the sentence Upadrashta, Anumanta, Bharta, Bhokta, Maheshwara, all that, if you read it just in a simple way, it will not give you the deep meanings. And to understand those meanings is Vedanta, the science of Vedanta. That is what we are learning, how to open up each and every verse and understand it and apply it into my own nature. Each one of us, I have seen many of the people who attend these sessions, they are able to apply, and then they also come and ask me questions. Is this right understanding? Is this wrong understanding? Is this the right? How do I correct my vision? Because this is a learning how to look at the same body. See, I've been looking at my own body and my own mind. I've been living with these two things throughout my life. I will do that. But with the knowledge, if I look at my mind, it is different. Because I become the illuminator of the mind and not the mind itself. The next verse is a very beautiful verse again. It's a realization verse. Yayevam veti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvatha vartamanopi nasa bhuyo bijayate. Here the Lord says, whoever who knows this Purusha and Prakriti along with the qualities of both of them, in whatever condition he may be, he is not born again. What a strong statement by the Lord. See, this is where we have to use the Bhagavad Gita as a pramanam, as a source for liberation. This is a verse which says Moksha Shastra. Brahma Vidya, Moksha Shastra. It gives me liberation. Liberation from birth and death. Liberation from sorrow. And it teaches me how. It gives me the means. It teaches me. That is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. The knowledge which we all get from the Bhagavad Gita is tremendous. It's a very effective knowledge. And the more we understand this knowledge clearly in ourselves, we will get the benefit of this wonderful science which exists. It even promises to us that you will not have sorrow in the future. Because any sorrow coming in the future is if you are born again. Normally, without a knowledge, we will be born again, is what what the Gita itself says. So Gita says, if you have knowledge, you will not be born. If you don't have knowledge, you will be born. Both are said in the Bhagavad Gita. So we need to understand two things: the qualities of the Purusha and the qualities of the Prakriti. Purusha means Para Prakriti of chapter 7. Kshetrajna of this chapter 13, the knower of the field. Again, we are going again understanding this consciousness only. Throughout the Gita, when there are two things only. One is to understand the knowing principle, consciousness. The second is to know how to live after knowing this consciousness principle, how to live intelligently. That's all. That's the final teaching of the whole Gita. Kshetrajnam chapi mam veddi sarvakshetreshu bharata kshetrajnayo jnanam yatta jnanam matam mama. This is the knowledge of the knower of the field. The knower of the field is Kshetrajna. Ya evam veti purusham. The one who knows this Purusha, the one who knows this consciousness, he is the one who will be liberated. In all the fields, there is only one knower. It is the same knower which knows every single day of our experiences. As soon as we get up, we are the knowers. When we say as soon as we get up means what? When the mind gets up. The knowing principle has not changed. It has never changed. The waker I is the ego I. The mind connected with the body and the sense organs is the waker I. Similarly, the dreamer I, the sleeper I. But what is common, which is flowing through all the common thread, which is flowing through all the three states is what? The consciousness. This is the nature of the consciousness, the knowing principle, and the Kshetram, which is the field of experience. The second verse of this chapter said, Idam shariram kaunteya kshetrak nityabhidhiyate etatyo vetitam prahohu kshetrajnam iti tatvidaha. I will teach you what is the field. I will teach you the knower of the field. The Lord promised in the second verse. And throughout, up till now, we have understood clearly that I am that pure awareness principle and the body is the Kshetram. Through the body only I see the entire world. And when the body is always connected with the mind. The volume of the mind is the volume of the body. It is just the mind and body are totally interconnected. The mind wakes up, awareness is there. What is the process? As soon as I wake up, what happens? The first thing you realize is I am aware. That is the first thing. I am aware. Awareness comes, which is called as Chid Abhasa. Within a second, you realize the mind. The mind starts throwing up thoughts. After that, the third thing what happens is the body. You can experience this at any time you wake up in the morning. Try to experience this. This is what the Shastras tell us. That awareness which is there is always existing. Even in sleep, it is there. The moment I get up, that awareness becomes self-awareness. The general awareness becomes self-awareness. I come to know that I am in this body and there is someone waking up. So there is a self-awareness which is called as adhyasa, which is called as chidabhasa. After that, that is the power, that is the electricity, that is the petrol behind the entire body and the mind. So the chidabhasa is the main thing which controls the body and mind. And behind chidabhasa is the chit, which is the Lord. The secret of the whole universe is in this body itself. You and I, all of us can experience this secret. And the moment I know the secret, I can experience the secret, then this secret is called as Gohyatamam, the greatest secret of the universe. Again, in the 18th chapter, the Lord uses this as the final knowledge, the ultimate knowledge, which is available to us through the scriptures. The scriptures are the revelations of this Atma. The scriptures are the revelations of this Ishvara, the nature of the Ishvara. Prakriti, Kshetram, and Kshetrajna. This is just to understand a little bit deeper. The field of experience is supported. And what is the supporter? The Purusha. The knowing principle is the supporter. And then what is the relationship between the two? The relationship is that of adhishtanam and adhyastam. Adhishtanam means substratum. Adhyastam means what? Superimposed. Like what? Rope snake and rope. Like what? The dream and waking. In the waker, you have the, at a simple level, what we say is that the waker, the dreamer is nothing else but it is superimposed on the higher waker. And then we say the waker itself is superimposed on Ishvara. The three states are all superimposed. They're all adhyastam. This is Shankaracharya's very beautiful commentary. When he starts the Brahma Sutra, the higher text of Vedanta, he starts with this Adhyasa Bhashyam. He says the whole Vedanta can be understood if you understand this particular aspect. What is substratum? What is superimposed? So, in this Atma, this pure consciousness, I superimpose the ego I. The ego I is connected to a body and mind. The ego I drops. Every day we go to sleep, the ego I drops. So the experience of this Purusha, the awareness principle, is always there with us. But I never thought, I never inquired into this, I never logically understood this process. So with this knowledge, I own up the real nature of consciousness, which is ever free. And the Lord says, if you know this consciousness and you own up this consciousness, there is no more rebirth for you. Whatever you did before, whatever way you lived before, does not matter anymore. You may live a life of grihastha, means householder. Brahmachari means as a student. Kshatriya, Vaishya, these are all varnas. We will study a little bit more on this in the 14th chapter, next chapter. So, in whichever ashrama, in whichever stage of life you may be, and whatever you may be doing, and whoever you may be from Africa, you may be from China, you may be from Japan, but if you understand the Bhagavad Gita like this, you will be a free person. Any person who understands the nature of this world in this way will become free, free from sorrow permanently, because there is no more rebirth. You feel, I am the consciousness, I never had a birth, I will never have death, as pure Atma, and I will ever exist as this pure self. The power of this knowledge to liberate the ahamkara in you is very, very strong. That is why this understanding that there is a higher principle, the Lord in us, gives us makes us drop the fear of death. No more. They said, I am always free. I am always that Sakshi is always there in me. That Lord is there in me. I depend on that for all my worries. All the worldly worries, I give it to Him. I say, okay, Lord, you take care of my worries. Because He's there. And I merge with Him as the self. So this jnani, this knower of the Purusha, never is born again. One becomes free from the sense of karta and bhokta, doership and enjoyership, which is nothing but our ego I. The subject and the object becomes one self, one reality, one Atma. This is the ultimate teaching of chapter 30. That there is a entity called as Sakshi or called as this Lord, whatever name you can give it, you can give it. But ultimately, you should know there is an entity in which the subject I, the ego I, and the object, which is the body or mind or the world, both the subject and object, they merge together and they are in one entity, which is called as Atma. Once this is learned and once you can accept it as your real nature, then the Lord says your Sanchita Karma file is closed. All the karma phalams which you are supposed to enjoy in the future births, they're all closed. Why? Because Mundaka Upanishad says, Vidyate Hridayat Krantihi Chidyate Sarva Samshayaha Shiyante Chasya Karmani Tasmin Tishte Paravare. This is a proof that once your ignorance is gone, once that knots are untied, all the doubts are dispelled in your mind. For a person like that, the Shastra says there is no rebirth. There is no more ignorance. That ignorance which was disturbing me, that ignorance which was the cause of the projections in my mind about that ego, gets dropped. This is a process of the study of the Bhagavad Gita. It happens. Whenever it happens to us, at that time we are free. Till that time, we continue the study. At that time, when it happens, what do you feel? As if you're woken up from a second dream. You're woken up from the waker I to this Atma I. It is a totally new realm of vision, existence, which I never knew before. And suddenly it happens to me, yes, the Bhagavad Gita promises us that this truth exists, and once the mind drops itself like a cucumber, it drops from the stem of a tree. Urvarukam bandhanat, that Shanti mantra, that immortality mantra, which you all know. Triyambakam yajamahe sugandhim prishtivardhanam urvarukam eva bandhanat. See, so that mantra becomes very real for us. When I learn to drop my mind, I live continuously as this pure awareness. Anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat, anyatra asmat, krita krita cha, anyatra bhuta cha bhavyascha, yattat pashyati tat vadaha. This is what was said by Lord Yama, the Lord of Death. This was taught to Nachiketa. Nachiketa was the 7-year-old boy who went to the Lord of Death. I am sure you all know the story. And he said, tell me, O Lord of Death, is there anything beyond three things? Beyond virtue and vice, right and wrong, cause and effect, which I see in the world. In the waking world, I see all cause and effect. Is there anything which is beyond cause and effect? I always know there is a past, there is a future. Is there anything beyond the time? It is the same answer the Lord gives. There is a Purusha which exists beyond time, beyond dharma and adharma, because right and wrong is always in the field of time. Cause and effect is always in the field of time. Past and future is in the field of time, but there is a timeless principle, which is called as Purusha. That is what has to be known. That is what the Lord promised us. Nyayam yat pravakshyami yajñātvā mrutamashnuté anādimat param brahma nasat nasad uchyate. He had said this in the 13th verse, that I will declare to you what is, by knowing which you will gain immortality. And this is the Purusha which the Lord is taught us. And he says, know this entity in which the subject object gets merged. And I experience that in my own self. When every time I am that only, but through the knowledge, I learn that it is my real Swarupam, my real nature. In the sleep state, in the dream state, in the waking state, I am one with that pure Purusha. Mundaka Upanishad also says, I put in all this so that our understanding of this Purusha becomes more and more deep. And it is the same, that you will not be born again. Mundaka Upanishad says something additional. It says that in the family of a jnani, in the whole line, there will be no more rebirth. Once a jnani, he says the whole family becomes immortal. I mean, these are the ways in which the Upanishads tries to encourage us to learn more about this Purusha. Know this Brahman, know this Purusha, know this Kshetrajna, and become immortal. This Purusha is called as the self. It is also called as the Atma. Knowing this, I become free. I become free means all of us become free when each of our minds dwells on this topic. Every embodiment is because of a desire. Some wish is there, some want is there, and then we get reborn into a body. In some of the higher texts, it clearly says, it says that even every day of our life is like a birth itself. Every day when we go to sleep, it's like I am not there anymore. Every day when I get up in the morning, I'm again there, fresh, looking at a world which is completely new. So this is a phenomena which happens in the world. But I learn to know that I am the substratum. I am the consciousness, awareness in which all this is happening. It comes and goes, it comes and goes, it manifests and it unmanifests. So the individuality ends, there are no more desires. I know I am this consciousness. There is no more samsara for me. We think that we are a father, mother, sister, boss. We are wealthy, we are poor. All these are notions in the mind. Whenever we are in the waking state, yes, these notions will come. I have a bank balance. I'm very wealthy. I don't have so much money. I'm poor. I'm okay. These are all the thoughts in the mind. But it is not the reality. There is a higher, this is what is called as Vyavaharika Satyam, transactional reality. But the pure Purusha or the Kshetrajna or the Sakshi or the consciousness is a transcendental reality. Paramarthika Satyam. All our problems are caused by thinking wrongly in life. You have a correct knowledge about yourself, your vision of the world will change. As dreamer, I go through ups and downs. And you know very well, dream is nothing else but all thoughts. And all thoughts in dream, they end when I wake up. The whole dream state is dropped. I don't even think about it again. Similarly, what happens is when I am, so as a waker, I'm not a part of the dream or the dream experience. The realm of the dream is gone. The pain and joy of the pain and suffering which we had in the dream goes away. Similarly, as I go up from this waking to the level of Atma, I learn the reality where the subject object merges, and automatically the mind will drop all the problems which you have faced in the waking state. You will say, okay, fine, it goes almost like a second dream. That's all. Like last week, whatever we experienced, what can we say about that experience? Last week's dream, last week's waking state, we had some experiences. As of today is concerned, it was like a dream. It was there when it was experienced. It was there, but today it's not there. It came, it went. Same thing we will face when we will talk about the whole state, the whole waking experience itself. We'll learn to drop. This is what is our study in the Mandukya Upanishad, where it says clearly all the three states are lower level. Learn to drop them and live as pure Atma. Chandogya Upanishad says the power of knowledge is this Atma. Know this Atma and be free. Jnanat evatu kaivalyam. Through knowledge, get freedom. Taking rope as a snake, I suffer. Taking the ego as myself, I suffer. I am that pure awareness. I am free. And what is this awareness? It is the same ego I, which dropping itself becomes the awareness. That is what we learned in the Atma Bodha. We have seen this verse before. So, in the entire problem is caused by ignorance, and knowledge is the solution for knowing this Atma. This is a very important point we should learn in Vedanta itself, in our study. In the whole study, we must understand it is knowledge which gives us the freedom, not anything else. The 25th and 26th verses are the sadhanas which we have to practice, the disciplines. That is the next two verses. And then from the 27th words onwards, we will learn how knowledge liberates. From the 27th verse onwards till the 35th verse is this last portion. So probably we'll take another 2 weeks or so, maybe next week and one more session. In 2 weeks, we'll probably finish up this entire 13th chapter. So in the Bhagavad Upanishad, it says that knowledge, it is by listening, Shrotravya, Mantavya, Nididhyasitavya, you can realize the self here and now. That's what is quotation which I have given here. It's a very famous quotation of Bhagavad Upanishad. A purified intellect is very, very essential when we walk the spiritual path. And all the things which we do, like for example, in Karma Yoga, in every chapter, if you go, we have seen 13 chapters, you will find Lord is telling us two things always. Purify your mind through Karma Yoga, through Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. These are all, that means I offer all my actions to the Lord because the strength in me is nothing else but the strength provided by the Lord. So I say, okay, Lord, it's your actions. That's it. So Karma Yoga purifies us mentally, purifies the mind. How? I learn to drop the selfish actions. Then what happens? The thought agitations come down. And the three processes of learning is what? Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. What is Shravanam for? Listening to the scriptures. What does it give? It gives me clarity of teachings. It removes the ignorance of Atma. Ajnana Nivartihi. What does this reflection, how does it help me? It clears doubts in my mind. I reflect in my own mind. I sit down quietly and just reflect. Oh, this 13th chapter was very nice. It talked about 6 indicators. Let me think, is it really true? See, this is the way of reflection. And Nididhyasanam, what does it do? It makes my mind single pointed, focused. It is these 3 together makes the mind strong. And our own thoughts, our own desires and fears are our vasanas. Now, that is what is called as viparita bhavana, opposite to what I am. The thoughts are coming out and telling me what I am not. And once I learn to drop these 3 things, once I learn to drop the viparita bhavana, because this is the toughest portion for all of us is, after learning the Bhagavad Gita also, what happens is our habits of thinking that I am the body and mind, it continues. That is where dhyanam is prescribed. Dhyanam means sitting quietly and telling ourselves again and again, let me learn to drop my mind. Let me learn to drop my mind. My mind is not the ultimate truth. It has to be practiced deliberately. This is the last portion of our spiritual journey where we have to learn to drop our habitual notions. It's a very important step because these are the 3 steps which have been said in the Bhagavad Upanishad, which is quoted above in chapter 2, section 4 and 5th verse. This is what is being prescribed to all spiritual students. This is the process of getting this Atma Vidya. That is why there is a lot of emphasis given to learning. Learning means what? Listening to the scriptures. Again and again listen. Even if you have done, I know many people who have learned the Gita, they again redo the Gita, they learn the suppose they have learned the 13th chapter, they do the 13th chapter again, they go through the verses again. Just let the ideas sink into your mind. When that happens, it makes your mind pure, which is called as sattva buddhi, sattvic buddhi. That buddhi is required to take a leap and understand the higher nature. And it happens. It really happens because it is the promise of the Bhagavad Gita. In the 18th chapter, the Lord will say, whoever has learned this Bhagavad Gita in the way I have taught, he will be free. This is my promise, says the Lord. We'll stop here. We'll continue with the 25th verse. The 25th and the 26th verse are the disciplines to practice to get this knowledge firmly, clearly in our mind. What should I do? What are the different methods? This is explained in the 25th and the 26th verses. And then from 27th onwards, again, we will see how this knowledge can be experienced by each one of us. Very beautiful section. That is the end portion of the 13th chapter. Very nice chapter, very deep chapter. If you're going through this chapter, go through these verses again and again. You will enjoy the verses more and more because now you have an understanding of what this chapter is all about. That is why I took verse by verse in this chapter, because number one, it is a very important chapter to understand the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. If you have been following with me this chapter, I am 100% sure each one of you have the complete knowledge of Atma. You know what is Atma, you have no doubt about it. Only thing is we need to clear our habitual notions of identifying with the body or mind. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamathaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. I'll open up the discussions. If there are any questions, you can ask. So you've all been unmuted now. So if you can ask questions, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, but you have a question?
I do have one, but it is not related to this topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the understanding about the closeness with or closeness with the Lord is much more explained through the scriptures in using the creep state, right, where it is much more closer.
Yes.
Compared to the awareness or the awakening stage.
Yeah, correct.
But this whole knowledge we are able to understand only in the awakening state.
In the awakening state, yeah, waking state.
Whereas in the sleep stage, we are attributing it to the stomach, right?
Yes. So, no, but what the teaching is, the teaching says that beyond the sleep state, there is this Atma, there is this Sakshi, there is this reality. This consciousness is not only in the waking state, it is not only in the dream state, it is also in the sleep state, it is beyond the sleep state. We are not talking of the sleep state at all. We are only saying that these are the three states of the mind. And you only learn to understand that these are only my mind in three conditions. That's all. And but the knowledge comes in the waking state only. And the knowledge is what? About the dream state, about the sleep state, about the waking state. There is a common element in all the three states. That is what is Atma. And that is the knowing principle. The body is inert. The mind is inert. Because in Tattva Bodha, we have learned the mind is only a subtle body made up of subtle elements. The same Panchabhutas are in the gross form, in the subtle form, in the causal form. And what the teaching is, you see what you are in the three states. Your own mind has to run through this. You have to close your eyes, run through the three states in the waking state, not in the sleep state. In the waking state, that is why they say it is a 5 minutes meditation. You don't need to do anything. Just to say, I am that pure consciousness, nothing else. Everything else I drop. And that is realization. Just learn to be with that awareness as yourself in the waking state. You can't do this in the sleep state because you don't have control over the mind. The tamasic state, okay, the information is given to us. The knowledge is given to us that this mind merges with the Ishvara in the sleep state. That is a knowledge. In the sleep state, what happens? The scriptures very clearly tell us. If you study the Mandukya Upanishad, the fifth and the sixth mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad says that the Jiva merges with the Ishvara in the sleep state. And what happens? The Ishvara has got another nature. That nature is the pure consciousness, the pure independent existence. And the same Upanishad describes that state, that pure state, in the seventh mantra of the Upanishad. There are only 12 mantras in the Mandukya Upanishad. Very easy to just read through the 12 mantras. Within 10 minutes, you can read all the 12 mantras. Very deep in their meaning. Very, very deep in our understanding. If we can have the depth, that is what is called as realization. You're right when you say that only in the waking state I can realize myself. You are 100% right. But once you have learned, then it is whether any state you are, that is what is your nature. That is what you should ultimately say, that is my nature always. I am not born. I am not going to be dead. I am going to be a living, existing consciousness presence all the time. That consciousness is God. That is the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. We need to develop the devotion for that to be with that Lord. And that is what is said in the 18th chapter. Just go to the 18th chapter, you'll discover so much of bhakti coming in there. The Lord will say, develop bhakti for me, devotion into me. Drop your lower nature, drop the ego, and just be with me. You are me, I am you. We are both together one. We are both one entity. With this thought, live throughout the life. That gives us the ultimate benefit of the Gita. So I hope I have answered your question. Do you still have any doubt?
No, I think I understood it. What you are saying is, even though it is the three states, all the three are bracketed together and everything pushed under the anatma, and you are none of that. Even though you appear like, in the sleep state, you are closest, you are always closest all the time.
Yes, now you got the point.
Okay, understood.
Very good. Good question. Okay, anybody else has any other question?
Secondly,
Baba bhai, bolo.
earlier you were sharing it is the thought that tell us to do something like, say, I have to go and take my bath, I have to do my prayers. So it's the thought that tell us to do. Is that the power?
Yeah, correct. You see, there is a power in us, which is the thinking power. See, the thinking power is also nothing but the Lord only. It is the Lord only which is telling me, go and pray, go and do this job, go and help somebody, go and do this course. It is that power in me is nothing else but the Lord.
It's not like
learn to see that Lord in your own self. All the time He is there. You will never miss Him because He is there. He is always there. You are never alone. The ego I is never alone. Ego I is the ahamkara. We have been used to thinking that I am there, I am very isolated, I am the body, I am the mind. When we think that we are the body, immediately the ego is there. That means we are living a life of ego. Learn to merge that ego with the Lord and say, it is the Lord who is telling me to do this. There is the Lord who has given me the strength in this body. I am one with the Lord is what I have learned through the Bhagavad Gita. It is a blessing for me. I have this knowledge. I have been thinking that I'm alone facing the world all alone. It is not true. The Lord is there in every cell of your body, in every thought. He is there behind every thought.
so the thought is not the ego, or
Yeah, the thought is you see, the moment you identify with the thought and say that I am the doer, then it is the ego. You surrender that ego. Whenever that ego comes, I have to do certain actions. It is the Lord who's teaching me, who's telling me today I have to do this job. Finished. Let me just go and do that. Let me do whatever the Lord wants me to do today. That means you are taking the help of the Lord at every stage in your life. Every day, every minute, every second, you are with the Lord. That is what the Lord says in the 18th chapter. Always think that I am with you. Then you are never alone. It is the ego which forgets the Lord, it thinks, and then it starts suffering. The moment you start suffering, immediately you say, oh my God, I forgot. The Lord is with me. So any prayer which you do is nothing but it is coming from the same Lord. It wants you to think of the Lord. Remember the name of the Lord. That is why we say chant that Om Namah Shivaya or Om, Om. Every time just remember there is that Sakshi. I am not alone. There is a Sakshi. There is that principle of oneness where the ego is not there, ego has merged. That is why I said the subject and the object, the subject ego, which thinks that it is the waker, it merges with the consciousness, which is the Lord. Which is what happens in sleep. Every day when we go to sleep, the subject and the object is all merged. But we don't know that. You see, we don't think that, every time when we get up in the morning, oh, I have to do the duty. Yes, you have to do all the duties. While doing your duties, remember that you are one with the Lord. That's all. Anybody else has any question?
Thank you.
So the whole all set of sadhanas is
Yes.
to overcome the forgetful nation of the ahankara.
Yes, that's correct. You see, you're right. All the sadhanas, you're chanting, everything is, you are trying to make your mind strong so that your mind is dropping the ahamkara and it is thinking of the pure Lord. Suppose you're chanted for 15 minutes the Bhagavad Gita. What happens is you have stopped all your thoughts of the ego I. You have devoted your entire mind for 15 minutes, you have devoted to that pure consciousness. And that gives you the strength. You will feel it. After 15 minutes, you will feel, oh my God, I'm so pure. I'm so fresh. Immediately after your chanting or after your meditation or after your puja, you will find, oh, I can go and face the world now. Suddenly you will find I've got the strength. Where did the strength come from? The strength has come internally from consciousness. Good observation. So that is, but it's a good observation you have made. Anybody else? Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll close for day and then we'll continue with the 27th verse next week. And in about 2 weeks, I think I should be able to finish the 13th chapter. And then we'll move on to the 14th chapter. Thank you and good night.
Monarayana.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Shekharji. Good night.
Okay, Uma, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,